CBS Sundays this fall.
The golden age of streamlining was all about sleekness and grace. An artful attempt, as Hari Srinivasan now shows us, to capture the very look of speed.
It really looks like a rocket ship.
This rocket ship on wheels is the 1938 Dubonnet Xenia.
This is one of the first wraparound windscreens ever used on an automobile.
In its day, it was the cutting edge of design innovation.
Oh, wow.
Peter Mullen is one of the owners who lent some of the most exquisite examples of streamlined automotive design ever brought together under one roof. The roof happens to be over the Phoenix Art Museum, and the exhibit is called Curves of Steel. Museum director James Ballinger.
So here you have a moment in the 1930s where automotive design is expressed through space-age materials, through advanced thinking, advanced mechanisms, and it's kind of a hope for the future, if you will.
A future that didn't remind people of the economic depression they were struggling through. Phil Patton is an author who's written extensively about cars and helped organize this exhibit.
And what was the Depression but economic drag? And therefore, this idea of streamlining as a kind of salesman, a physical way to cut through the drag, to get the country moving again.
To wipe away the tears of the Depression, designers looked to the teardrop, the shape thought to be the most aerodynamic. America's first major attempt at a streamlined car was the Chrysler Airflow.
The front of it looked like an accountant with a big bushy 20s mustache. It was not an effectual-looking creature.
Nor did it sell well. Then came the Lincoln Zephyr, the type of car architect Frank Lloyd Wright drove around Phoenix, with a front grille that seemed to part the waves of whatever lay ahead.
This was no longer the frumpy accountant. This was a bold captain arching forth onto the seas of life.
Streamlined design is when the world started to think out of the box. Literally out of the boxy car, but also figuratively, into a universe where speed and efficiency mattered.
This was a way of saying things are going to move faster. This device is designed better, so you'll finish that typing more quickly. You'll get that vacuuming done.
Streamlining evoked ideas of progress.
Danita Sewell is the curator of fashion design at the museum.
Streamlining as a concept spread to all areas of design, and it was used as a marketing tool.
Notice the parallel stripes on this radio? Streamlined. The shoes? Yep, streamlined. Even the powder on this woman's face had allegedly been wind tunnel tested and streamlined. These beautiful evening gowns? You guessed it.
A number of ads from the period used the word streamlined, especially those associated with undergarments. It was all about being smooth and curvaceous.
From the underwear on up, sleek and sexy sold.
This car is my wife's favorite car in the collection. It is the most exotic, swoopy, aerodynamic, sexy design, I think, maybe of any automobile.
This red heartthrob is a 1939 Delahaye.
They're kind of trying to sell us a rear end.
That's right. I mean, these are gorgeous rear ends. It's hard not to say that, right?
This car represented France in the 1939 World's Fair in New York. But what a trip it's taken since.
We found it actually in Fresno, California, behind a tow truck operator's building. These kids were using it as a kind of a fort to have mud fights in.
This car back to life, back complete with its recessed door handles and Lalique entry lights.
Beautiful, huh?
That is so ahead of its time.
They're rolling works of art.
It's easy to see the art in the Talbot Lago design some people call the most beautiful convertible in the world. Or my favorite, the 37 Delage, which looks just as stunning from the side as it does from above. Then there are the not-so-usual designs, the Tatra from former Czechoslovakia, with a fin like an airplane and the face that looks like that of the Volkswagen Beetle. And speaking of beetles, how about a car named after a sacred beetle, the Stout Scarab, the great-grandfather of today's minivan. Seeing these cars in a museum is beautiful, but to see one come at you through a mirage on a long, lonely highway is sublime.
Does it take you back in time?
Oh, it does, yeah. I mean, I think the 30s clearly are the best years.
It took Dale Lillard's father 10 years of full-time work to restore this car, milling parts from scratch when none could be found. It's restored all the way down to the working radio.
So when you think about it, this was one of the first cars you could have ever gotten a radio in.
That's true, yeah. One of the,
And it's the same one that you actually have working in.
Right, we restored it.
We also hopped into another streamlined blast from the more recent past.
This is a marvelous car. It's a 53 Hudson Hornet.
Driving was actor and car enthusiast Ed Herman.
It's very simple. There's no electronic gear on it. There are no chips. There's no computers. It's all mechanical.
Simple and sublime. Whether it be a car from the 30s, 50s, or today, the line from a teardrop still streaks across time.
Ahead, the Cutty Sark rising from the ashes.